How to unblock your chakras to ace your dating. That's the focus of this video, where we will explore the connection between chakra healing and attracting healthy relationships from a spiritual and psychological perspective. Before diving into chakras, let's take a simpler approach to healing, which is with the 4-body model system. Now, at an energetic level, our bodies have 4 layers: physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional. And it's the interplay of these 4 bodies that shapes our reality and influences what we attract in our life, including people, places, things, times, and events. Now, in dating, ideally, we want a partner who complements us on all 4 body levels. The physical attraction is straightforward. Someone catches your eye, you fancy them, you are intrigued and feel drawn towards them. Next, you talk to your person of interest, getting a feel for how they think, their everyday thoughts, beliefs, and attitudes. And usually, when the physical and mental aspects look good, we think we have done our due diligence and there could be a potential for love. The other 2 bodies are generally overlooked, especially the emotional body, because we rarely ask ourselves, how does this person make me feel? As in, do I feel safe and secure around them? Do they validate my feelings? Is their presence nurturing and nourishing? Can I fully relax around them? At a spiritual level, it's not about the religion, but instead, are they open-minded, humble enough to admit their shortcomings, open to expanding their consciousness? If you answer these questions honestly, you may notice areas for improvement. In relationships, we often forget that the other person is always reflecting to us our emotional and psychological landscape. And so what you find attractive in your love interest is often what you admire in yourself, or else you wouldn't be able to see it. Or your person represents an ideal you yearn to cultivate in yourself. So with this information as a baseline, let's dive into chakra knowledge and how it can help you attract healthier relationships. Now, the 2nd chakra is the home of our creative energies, also known as our sexual energies, and hence plays an integral role in dating. The sacral chakra holds the blueprint of all our relationships. And this blueprint is formed during the first 7 years of our life based on the quality of our emotional bonding with our mother and father. So for a woman, her father is her first introduction to the masculine energy. If during childhood, a woman felt safe, seen, heard, acknowledged, and validated for her uniqueness by her father, then her blueprint is encoded with the message that it is safe to give and receive love from men. For a man, his mother is his first introduction to the feminine energy. And so a man's ideal of a woman is likely based on his mother's image in his psyche. If we all lived in an ideal world, we would all be blessed with a healthy, resilient emotional blueprint, which is to say, we would all be wired to experience love, intimacy, belonging in our close relationships. But unfortunately, we don't live in an ideal world. When we think of children raised in abusive homes, they often have a distorted relationship blueprint, because when there is pain, trauma, or devastation experienced in the first 7 years of life, it leaves a negative imprint in this blueprint. Similarly, when in childhood, say a person feels unsafe at an emotional or psychological level, that can also distort their perception of how they relate to others. As an example, say, as a child, you were terrified of your father's anger. Chances are now, when your love interest or your partner expresses anger, it may stir up those old feelings. It may make you act in childish ways where you are second-guessing yourself or even sabotaging your efforts. And so when our relationship blueprint is distorted, it often means that our psychological needs were not fully met in childhood. And this includes our need for love, safety, belonging, and parental acceptance. Now, generally, we fulfill these needs by projecting onto people that are closest to us. This usually includes our siblings, spouse, children, extended family, and even our close friends. And 99% of the times, we are absolutely unaware of this psychological undercurrent, this psychological projection in our interactions. Now, when our psyche starts to replay this same dynamics with our love interest, that's when we risk becoming emotionally dependent or even addicted to them. Perhaps by now you can see that without awareness of how your relationship blueprint is wired, you are bound to repeat your childhood emotional patterns in your adult relations. This is also why you may continue to attract the same person in a different body. Now, moving along at this third chakra level, this is where the conscious mind or the ego mind emerges. Now, this mind has its own wants, needs, and desires, which in most cases are driven by cultural and societal norms. The voice of the ego mind is often the voice of should. For example, I should have a house by 28, I should be married with 2 kids by 32, and so on. Now, there is nothing wrong with any of these desires. However, it's essential to recognize that although these desires, these choices may seem very personal, but they are often shaped by cultural, societal, and even familial pressures, instead being driven by our inner selves. And so suffice it to say that if a person hasn't taken time to become self-aware, their desire for a partner will likely be influenced by external forces than their inner guidance. And so how can you safeguard yourself from the voice of shoulds? Through honest introspection. Asking yourself questions like, okay, what's behind my motivation to find a partner? Is it to please someone, or is it something that I genuinely want at this point in my life? And if it's my own desire, what kind of partner would best complement my personality and my future life goals? There is no right or wrong answer. What matters is alignment with your inner self. Because the more honest you are, higher the probability of finding what you are looking for. Now, any conversation about love, dating, or relationships is incomplete without a mention of psychological projections. Imagine this is your psyche, and the majority of the contents of our psyche is unconscious. And the way we become aware of this content is by projecting it on others. Now, psychological projections, they are a natural part of how we relate. That's how our psyche works. So by its very nature, projections are neither good nor bad. The problem arises when you are unaware of what you are projecting onto your love and trust. Because when you are projecting onto your love and trust, you rarely see them for who they are. Your love and trust is simply personifying your unconscious. And that's what you're in love with. Not the actual person, but your projection, which in reality may just be an illusion. And so what you may feel as love may have no basis in reality. And so the best antidote to protect yourself from your unconscious projections is to first ground yourself in reality, and then to make sure that you ground your relationship in the here and now. How do we do that? Again, taking a cue from the chakra knowledge, at the first chakra level, ask yourself, do I feel safe and secure with this person? At the second chakra, is this person in touch with their feelings and emotions? How was their relationship with their parents? Are they emotionally intelligent? How do they express love? How do they handle negative emotions? At the third chakra level, ask yourself, is our thinking aligned? What about their thinking do I find attractive? Am I mentally stimulated when engaging with their mind? At the fourth chakra level, do I genuinely feel a growing love for this person? Or am I being pressured to love or like them? At the fifth chakra, does this person speak their truth even when it's inconvenient? And as you ponder these questions, be honest with yourself, so that when the honeymoon phase of a new romance fades, there is something substantial, real, authentic, in which you can ground your relationship. Now, the anatomy of our psyche also dictates how we relate to the members of the opposite sex. Very briefly, a woman's psyche contains a male archetypal figure called the animus, and a man's psyche contains a female archetypal figure called the anima. And any relationship between a man and a woman is actually a relationship between these four aspects, just like so. Now, this is a vast topic in Jungian psychology and it falls outside the scope of this video, but I just wanted to mention it here so that you are aware of the positive and negative unconscious forces often at play when it comes to romantic love. Now, bringing attention back to the 7 chakras for a moment, we generally associate first chakra with procreation, second with creativity, third with power and control, fourth with unconditional love, fifth with speaking truth, sixth with inner vision, and seventh with ascension. With this information as a backdrop, I want to share something that one of my meditation teachers would often say. He would say that in most people, love starts as lust in the first chakra, and rarely does it reach the level of unconditional love, which is chakra 4. And that's because love gets hijacked at chakra 2 and 3. Why is that? Throughout history, we have read that women tended to control men through their sexuality. In turn, men exerted control over women through power, money, and fame. But there's also another way of relating, where love starts from the 7th chakra, where your thoughts are your person's thoughts and vice versa. Not because you want them to be, but they naturally are. When you find this person, you have found a true mirror of yourself. And love then naturally trickles from the 7th chakra all the way to the 1st. Now, in wrapping up, I won't be exaggerating when I say that the golden ticket to attracting healthy people and relationships is to first know yourself and then to unconditionally love and accept yourself. I know this sounds cliche, but there is liberation in becoming the one you have been searching for. Because when you have done your emotional work and you have found a modicum of peace within yourself, you naturally attract healthy, balanced, integrated individuals. It's just the way it goes. I hope this sharing is supportive in your journey. As always, please only take what resonates. Discard everything else. Thank you so much for your time, and I will see you in the next video.